got really good speed, and he gives that dip in and out, and then hey, the guy right up the road here at Northern Iowa, David Johnson, excellent hands, catches the ball well, and I was talking to Mark Farley about mid-season or so. I said, hey, Mark, you got to give this guy the ball. I said, he said, well, yeah, but everybody's keying on him. I said, yeah, that's fine. They still got to tackle him, and but anyway, David Johnson, he's a 230-pound back that can really catch the ball. And then a lot of people like the guy named Jay out at Boise State, who is about a 220-pound back, and he's just a battering ram kind of guy. So there's going to be some big backs out there, Jim. And Cobb up at Minnesota, 230-pound back, and Carlos Williams down at Florida State, 227 pounds.
Dan,
Dominic Brown. So I can go on and on about those big ones.
Clearly you can. I wanted to ask you, so do you think, this last season and even the season before, there was this movement away from running backs. Do you think that we'll see a running back sooner rather than later being drafted again in the first round?
Yeah, I think this year. I think somebody's going to take Melvin Gordon in the first round, and I don't know. People like New England or Seattle, they might roll the dice on Gurley in the first round, because they'll have him in a year, but, they can afford to set him, and especially, if Marshawn Lynch is out for the year, if he returns, they'll be able to set Gurley out and then have him ready to go in the following year. So, but yeah, I think you're going to see a first-round running back this year.
Okay. One of the players that excited everybody last season was Odell Beckham. Here was a rookie who is playing like a veteran or a third-year wide receiver would be playing lights out, doing amazing things on the field, breaking records, and even being one of the top wide receivers, having missed 2 games. Do you see anyone in this rookie draft class that you might be able to see? He could be an Odell Beckham in 2015.
Well, the thing is, I want to see how some of these guys can run, because you got some of the vertical guys, like Coates and Devin Smith, Sammy Coates out of Auburn. Those guys are vertical receivers that, have to do a lot of work in regards to, their individual pass running and things like that. But, I tell you, Jalen Strong from Arizona State, I think has that possibility. I think if Devontae Parker is healthy, he had that broken foot early in the 7 games. If he can stay healthy, he's certainly a talented guy. We know Amari Cooper is, he's not as big. He's 6'1", he's about 205, somewhere in that 6 foot or 200. We don't know till combine time exactly what he is, but he's a guy that he can make he's not that big monster like Julio Jones and those type of guys, but he's certainly a talented. He's probably a little more than like a Reggie Wayne, for instance, a little more talented, even Reggie. But and then Kevin White, big receiver at West Virginia, like him a lot. And, again, he's a good-sized guy, 6'3", 210. He might be, because he's made some great catches this year and things. But I think you're probably looking in that group, and then there's always one guy that comes out of the woodwork that just, emerges as a great player somewhere in that receiver group, but you never know. That compete really comes out when you're in camp.
Well, it seems like it's a more talented group at wide receiver based on the sorts of plays that they're running at the college level and the kind of training, I guess, they're getting at the college level. We've seen some of these players like Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, all sort of step up to, or Jordan Matthews, sort of all step up to the plate a lot quicker than we're sort of used to.
Yeah, well, the big thing is they're getting a lot of reps catching the ball because that's what the teams are doing, and the thing is they when they were in high school and stuff before, they didn't get the ball a lot. Now, hey, you're getting a lot of balls and your hands are becoming softer and more dexterous, and so you're just getting better.
My hands are getting softer too, Dan, but I don't think it's because I'm catching footballs. Let me tell you. Anyway,
I don't feel comfortable here anymore. Just for the record.
Hey, easy there, Keith. Well, look, one of the big changes in the modern NFL football, at least we'd like to believe it. You could probably go back several years and see the change already occurring, but it's suddenly the emphasis on the receiving tight end. It's become bigger. Everybody's excited about it. Everyone wants to see it, at least from a fan perspective. I'm assuming coaches and scouts look for it and, asterisk a player if they feel that he's a receiving tight end. Who do you see being a top receiving tight end in this class?
I tell you what, I don't think it's close. I think Max Williams out of Minnesota is.
Nice.
I mean, the sad part though about that, Jim, is he's in a run-oriented offense, and believe me, I mean, I absolutely love the coaches up at Minnesota because every place they've gone, they've done a great job, and they're great guys and coaches and everything, but they just didn't throw it to Max. And here's a guy that, he had 3 super catches against the University of Iowa this year where it was absolutely unbelievable. If you can, I don't know, they were probably on YouTube and all that stuff, I guess, but I mean, I was at the game and I saw him make these catches. I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't wait till I got home to see the replay and then look at the film and stuff because, I mean, he just made spectacular catches in that game, and he didn't catch many balls because they didn't throw many to him, and the thing is, like, most outstanding football players, he got a lot of that from his mom, even though his dad played in the pros 10 years with the Giants. His mom was a great volleyball player and was a Big Ten Medal of Honor winner in volleyball and stuff. And when you see those contortions with him going after the ball and keeping his feet in bounds, catching the passes on the fingertips and things like that, we're going to, give his mom credit for that stuff. So, but no, Max Williams is, I mean, he's the guy. I would love to draft him, and believe me, we'd feed him the ball.
Now something I learned recently, we have an article on Max at thefantasygreek.com written by Jim Widener, is that he goes by the nickname Mad Max. I didn't know if you knew that. Or at least everybody's following.
I'll tell you what. Well, that makes it easy because he's kind of got that reddish hair, kind of fiery kind of guy, and like I said, hey, he is he's the real deal now. And if in fact, we threw him at 12 to Cleveland in one mock draft, and we think they'd love to get him at 19, but hey, watch out, NFC North, because if he goes to the Packers, people are going to be really in trouble.
Yeah, indeed they will be, wouldn't they? I can tell you, for the listeners out there, in this article we have on Mad Max, we have a link to the catch, and I think you're referring to this catch that he made against Missouri in the Citrus Bowl. Or at least it's one of them. He's made, I'll tell you what, the ones I was referring to, he made 3 great ones against Iowa. But no, you're right. He made another a real good one there. But I mean, he's a highlight catch waiting to happen. I mean, he makes those splash plays, and then, but yeah, he's outstanding. Okay. With that, just a reminder to our listeners that if you have a question, please call in at 585-633-7487. That's 585-633-7487, or tweet the Greek at #AskTFG. That's hashtag AskTFG. Don't be shy. We love questions around here, and I know Dan loves to answer questions and then some. Now, Dan, I'm assuming that the SEC is still sort of at the top of conferences for football talent, or at least every year it seems like they're always touted that way. Is that sort of still the trend this year?
Yeah, I think, but the gap closed a little bit with the Pac-12 out there. I mean, they have tremendous talent out there on the West Coast, and of course, when they're out there, some people they lose track of those guys because of the time change and everything, because the East Coast and West Coast 3 hours difference, but the Southeast Conference has got certain, the talent at a lot of the skilled positions. That's because of the Floridas and the Georgias and, all that speed and athletic ability down there. But I think you still look to the Big Ten, the offensive line and things like that. Yeah. And again, it wasn't too long ago that, as you recall, the Big Ten had some of the most outstanding pass rushers. One particular year with Claiborne and a big guy came out of Purdue that's the Washington Redskins now. Great player. But anyway, there's a lot of pass rushers. Yeah, but so hey,
Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt. I actually wanted to ask you about. I promoted the show today to some of the Big Ten sites. And is there one or two Big Ten players that you want to say, these one or two guys, they're top prospects, they could go in round one or through round three?
Well, I'll tell you what, obviously I hit the big one with, I think, Max Williams. I think
yes.
Max is going to be, a guy. And then, of course, the Big Ten had all those running backs. You talk about Melvin Gordon. You're talking about, Tevin Coleman. In there, you had Amir Abdullah. So, you got those the Big Ten running backs this year. People, no other conference can claim that. And then, I think Devin Smith is a vertical receiver for Ohio State. A guy that's gonna, he's got a lot of work to do in route running and things, but he certainly can go vertical, and you can't forget that. Hey, another tight end in the league that he's actually our third-rated tight end is Jeff Hireman from Ohio State. Now he's your blue-collar, normal, kind of blocking tight end, 6'5", 255 pounds, and good football player. And so he's in that, area. And then, of course, you got Brandon Scherf from Iowa, who is Outland Trophy winner. Again, kind of carries the banner for offensive linemen, not only at Iowa, but also in the Big Ten, the outstanding the big lineman that Rob Haverstein from Wisconsin. We really like him. 6'8", 327 pounds, big, strong guy. A guy that surprised the heck out of us this year, and I know you were down at the Senior Bowl, but he was kind of up and down at Penn State. But Donovan Smith actually had a good week and helped himself a lot at the Senior Bowl this year. So, but big white-bodied guy. And, of course, hey, you got a speed guy coming off the edge and Randy Gregory from Nebraska, a guy that's very well thought of. A lot of folks think he's going to go in the top 5 picks. Carl Davis, a big tackle from Iowa, defensive interior guy that a lot of people like. One of our favorites, he's a Chicago kid, too, is Louis Trinket-Passat from Iowa. His motor never stops running, He plays football like I talk fast, you know what I mean? So he's a terrific football player. So there's a few that scratch surface. I forgot Trey Wayne, corner up at Michigan State. There's a guy that he may be the top corner in this draft now. After Eifel from Oregon got hurt, I think Trey Waynes might move right into that spot and at Michigan State. He's 6'1", about 183 pounds, and really a good football player. So hey, the Big Ten's gonna be getting a few first rounders, second rounders in there this year.
I remember Bill Parcells is charged with the quote or sort of the statement that in that first round of the draft, that's the time to draft the freak, draft a incredibly athletic player. Some would say edge pass rushers tend to be that incredibly athletic player like Jadeveon Clowney. Who would you tell Bill Parcells, here's the freak in this draft class, the freak athlete?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know. It isn't really a Clowney, but obviously, Gregory has got some that athletic talent. We like Ray as a pass rusher, Shane Ray out of Missouri. He's an explosive guy. The funny thing this year is, I don't know if you've really got a lot of splash play guys, but there is one that, if Bill Parcells says, hey, Dan, who would you take at any position? And I didn't need a quarterback. I think Leonard Williams from Southern Cal would probably be the guy that I'd say that. I don't think he's Ndamukong Suh, but I think he's pretty darn good, and I'd love to have him on my team. Yeah. So I think that Leonard Williams would probably be the guy.
That's great. I'm sure Leonard right now is thanking you very much for that comment. So you sort of intimated to this year's draft class. I know last year people talked about it being one of the deeper draft classes around. I had, before the season began, sort of prognosticated that last year's